Hello, welcome back to another episode of D54. I'm Amit, and I am so excited because I have Kathy from the Cinemundo podcast.
Hi. You can't get rid of me. I'm everywhere.
Kathy, you should know you are the first official guest on this show.
I love that. I love that. And I forced myself. I was like, hello, let's do a collaboration. Like, okay, fine.
No, I could not be happier. For any of our fans that don't know, I'm sure most people know of you guys. You guys are one of the biggest reaction channels that definitely I'm across.
We're new and we're growing. I look at that. We've only been doing this about a year and a half. A lot of them have been out there like 10 years or 5 to 10 years, so we're still all
you guys are killing it though. You guys have some pretty great content. I'd love in case people haven't heard of you, what do you guys do? I'll just give a chance for you to intro your show a little bit.
Okay. So we cover a lot of Indian content, but we also cover a lot of other just worldwide cinema. Like we cover it all, like Japan, Korea, America. We can cover those. But I lean toward horror because it's my favorite genre. So I inflict that on people. But mostly we're trying to do good films most of the time. Yeah. But sometimes it's just whatever's near and dear to our heart, or like unsung gems. We sometimes do interviews with, people behind the scenes. I love talking to people like below the line, especially like editors and, like not directors, they're kind of above the line, but I like talking to, wardrobe, everyone who's like involved in filmmaking. I love hearing their stories because I'm fascinated with movie production in general. And I do movie advertising. So it's my whole life. So I do movie posters for a living and I do movie reviews for fun.
You're pretty deep in it.
I know.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's been great sort of chatting and getting to know you a little bit too. But yeah, let's speaking of the posters, we're reviewing a classic here. I think it's a classic. Iyobinte Pusthakam.
It should be classic.
And of course, the reason why we chose this movie was because of Fahadh Faasil, which was also a bit of a bridge between our channels, which we saw obviously huge fans of Fahadh on this channel, huge fans of Fahadh on your channel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll definitely get into talking about his performance in this, which was pretty spectacular along with a lot of other people.
My God.
But before we do that, let's take a look at the poster. Do you want to take a look at the poster of Iyobinte Pusthakam? Because I think it'd be a great sort of discussion to have.
Yes. Okay, let me pull it up. Well, it's clearly just a Fahadh Faasil star shell. This is like him close up with that killer mustache, looking cool as hell as always. You have a little bit of green, like they didn't give us a lot of story detail, but you see a lot of a lot of green, lush forest, mostly, I guess, because that's kind of where it takes place. Basically, is on that huge estate. But they don't really give you much with that. And then there's one guy looking terrible in the background, looking mean, like he's got something going on. So you're looking at like conflict. You have Fahadh Faasil looking very confident, and then you have like conflict. So This is just star style, pure like head in the sky. We call it big heads in the sky. This is like the classic heads in the sky poster. So that's that. And then is there another one, or is that it?
There's the one with the boat.
Let's see. So then this poster is again big heads in the sky, as we can see. And then this has got more of an ensemble cell because you have Fahadh Faasil up front. He's the star. You have a couple more people. You have the whole cast list at the top. The other one didn't have that. And then we also have they're trying to go for like a big head in the sky, but kind of a romance cell, which it's kind of a cheat because I mean, technically, I guess this does exist in the film, but I don't consider this like a romantic film at all. But they did have some highlight, like some of the highlights in this film were kind of these almost fantasy sequences of like the purity of the relationship or something. So they're on this boat, but this was not really how I would sell this movie. This is kind of like no. But it was beautiful and it looks epic. So I think that's they were just going with, hey, let's just show that.
There's something really nice about the Malayalam language too. I don't know what you think. Like just the way it looks at, the scripture itself. Really, it's just artistic. Yeah. There you go. It's really artistic. So it's always sort of grabs my attention. But
it's a beautiful.
We have. I think the first one was really good because you sort of have. I think Jayasurya looking like really sinister at the back, and just it gets you're intrigued by what sort of is going on here with this one. But,
it looks more drama than romance for sure. And that I feel like it was way more drama than it was romance, for sure.
Yeah, I'd probably use the first one more to sell this one. And I think that's the one that it conveys the message of this movie a little better. You have obviously Amal Neerad's name there as well.
And if I was going to do it,
they're the two.
I might have sold it more as a family conflict kind of drama. Like I probably would have had the patriarch, looking very, because he was intense. Like it was almost Succession. Like he was badass who was like, all of his sons were failures basically in his eyes. No one was measuring up. You had the conflict outside. Who's going to take over, but I probably would have made it more like the family, It just seems like that would have been more, but I mean, I'm not going to complain. There's a Fahadh Faasil poster at all. That was a good sell. I'll see that. He's in it. I'll see it.
He's got the star power, definitely. But yeah, what were your sort of first thoughts about this movie? I guess, that's a pretty loaded question, but like, I guess, what was the things you remember the most after sort of watching this one?
I think, first of all, it got off to kind of a slow start for me because I wasn't quite sure where we were. Like it would start with the British colonialism and how he had the business there. And I was kind of confused. Like, what is this? Like, so that was a little confusing. And then you find out why. Like, it was basically a coup. Like, he leaves and he dies. Like, spoiler, first 10 minutes. but they, then it turns into kind of more of the family drama. You have a little bit of the conflict, but it took a while for Fahadh Faasil to show up. And I wasn't even sure, like, is this the right movie? So I was a little confused on what his role was because he was not part of this for a while. I think, ultimately, I mean, I don't know if we save this for later, but ultimately I felt like it was really, like, it got a little bit slow start again because I watched it for Fafa, but it became very epic. Like, I loved how they brought in the whole political thing and the war, the army and all the things he was learning. And then everyone didn't like what he had learned when he was there and how he felt like a traitor to them. And they just didn't want him in the family. They were trying, they were treating him really badly when he came back to the family. And I felt, his role coming from kind of the prodigal son comes home and then he's like not wanted. And he had this whole other kind of background story was great. My main issue, and I'll just bring this up because I have an animal thing. I talked to you about this earlier.
Yes.
They had an animal scene with an elephant, like a killing of an elephant that I cannot handle that. I cannot. No. I was about to write you going, I can't watch this movie. And then I'm like, I'm going to get through it because the elephant was very cute. And it's not like they just went hunting for it. There was a threat, and the father felt like he had to save them by killing this beautiful animal. And I think that also bugged him that he had to do that. So I was okay with that. But it was super sad. And I didn't really like, so I'm fine with all the other stuff, but just leave the animal stuff out of it. So I was a little bummed by that. And I had to kind of skip. I was just like, trying to get past that part. And then I feel like it takes me out of the movie because I'm trying to figure out how to avoid looking at it. But once I got past that, oh my God, it really took off after that though. But
definitely.
Oh my God.
That's very true. Definitely. I think even before that one, it was like, there was one with like a deer or something like that.
Oh, the deer. Like yes.
You're hunting and I was like, oh no, please don't go this direction. Just, at least don't show it at least. I don't want to.
But I love they didn't. I love the kids like, I'm not doing it.
No, exactly. That was great.
I love that. I'm like, I'm okay in this movie. No, not okay. They had another killing later, but so people know, because I always check, does the dog die for any animal stuff? So now you're aware. Just be careful. If you don't like the stuff, it's worth getting through that to get to the good stuff. So.
Definitely is. There's a lot to like about this, but man, this movie, my God. So I've not seen like a sort of period piece for one from the Malayalam film industry. Like, I think you've sort of seen a few more. You've sort of seen across the board.
No, you're right.
A bit
don't
more.
See a lot.
To me, I was like, wow, okay, this is a period piece. So we're going back to colonization, and they really put a lot of effort into sort of making this look really authentic and real. I really appreciated. Sort of just watching that visually, this was just a feast. I mean, from the backdrop of sort of where they were, beautiful to all the costume design that they had. It had moments of like history they also introduced with the bullet bike, the Royal Enfield sort of bike that they brought in as well. A cool look, like, I loved him.
I loved he was the one on the bike, like that's his bike. Yeah, he's like, oh, look at him bringing this thing in here.
Definitely, but you're right. The first half definitely does take a while to get into it, and I was also like, is Fahadh in this movie? Is he a cameo?
I know.
Like he's on the poster front and center, so we just saw it.
Is this the right movie?
But I guess the thing also with because I realized it was directed by Amal Neerad, and so I've seen one movie of his, Bishma Parvam, And I've seen him also do the DOP, I think it was for Trance. So he knows how to make a movie look really good.
It did look
because this has a lot of sort of similarities, especially Bhishma Parvam, with the whole music, especially. Like there's a constant soundtrack that just kept playing throughout the entire movie, and it was just so pleasant. It felt, I don't know, it kind of really made you feel engrossed in sort of the movie, the environment, the whole scene. It was freaking awesome. Like it was a lot to sort of like about it. And obviously the ensemble cast, like, you know, my God, like name after name after name sort of kept coming up. Like, and I think the main character, the dad, Lal, I have to say, like his voice is one that is so unique. Like whenever I hear it, because I saw him in 2018 and it's like, whoa, man, this guy has a voice.
So good. He was so intense. He was like the Succession, you know, he was like, you know, Roy, you just feel like you do not want to cross this guy. Don't.
No.
And even his son's like, you know, Fahadh Faasil, he comes in and he's very strong and you still felt like, nope, not going to cross him. It's just not going to do that. And I liked how it was very painful for him to go against his dad. And I think he was really bummed out. His dad didn't want him around, didn't agree with what he did. No. You know, it was like really, he does pain very well. Fahadh Faasil. He just looks so like dejected and, you know, it's those eyes. Like he's famous for his eyes, and and his eyes are spectacular because everything is there. So when he's just standing there looking, you see everything in there. And I don't know how actors do that, but he definitely dominates the scene just with those eyes. They're crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty great because he's amongst a lot of sort of other really phenomenal actors, to be honest. Especially I think aside from Fahadh, I think my favorite is probably Jayasurya, the tree cutter, I guess. He also played this great sort of villain.
He was great,
you know, with sort of the. And I loved how they sort of shot him. Like they'd always spend like a little bit extra time on his like face. And they did that a lot. And that's sort of the cinematography, I guess, with how Amal Neerad sort of likes to shoot his scenes. I think it's just you spend a little more time on the looking at people, and the facial expressions obviously very strong. Whole range of characters, which I guess worked mostly, but I'm not gonna lie, like I was getting confused at times as to what is going on and who is who, and
I know I couldn't decide who was loyal to who sometimes. Like I know there was the conflict with how you were saying the father and some of the other people who I mean, were they like kind of like the alternate organized crime syndicate? Were they kind of trying to take I wasn't quite sure, but they were kind of the rough and tumble versus the kind of a little more pulled together, and I got a little confused by that.
No, definitely.
But you were very aware who was good and who was bad at a certain point. Finally, you figured out, but you weren't totally sure because sometimes those guys end up, you know, switcheroo, end up being the good guys because they're the ones who are being repressed and held down by the rich people, and even the rich guy, he was the ultimate bad guy. He was bad. He was bad. What was his name? The guy who took over the colonial guy's house and wife, and it was just like, you're mine now.
Yes, defindefinitely. The wife definitely had some pretty crazy intentions. Like this is the wife-in-law or the daughter, his daughter, Lal's daughter-in-law. Like, she was just like, I'm out for revenge. But they sort of brought that story pretty much at the end. Like, I was like, what's her agenda the whole time? And it's like, oh, okay, wow. So they like, I think the word grand is very true for this because they really try to make something really epic with this movie. I think they succeeded.
Yes.
With a lot of it. But the first half, I think one thing that I really found was like you were sort of mentioning, like there's sort of a lack of direction sometimes. I feel like when I started watching it, I was like, okay, what's going on here? Like, what's the overall sort of plot? What's the overall storyline? Until you sort of figure out it's all about sort of the family, which is sort of you know, the key sort of thing in this. But I guess what were your impressions on sort of I guess, you know, the first half versus the second half? Like, because we talked about the first half a little bit. Second half, how did you compare the two sort of sides of it? Because it was kind of like a tale of two halves.
It kind of was,
and it sort of changes in the second half. But and we have whole scene at the interval, very Black Panther.
Oh, I loved that. That was like, now was the interval. Now, I saw. Well, it felt like when they got to that scene, it almost felt like that was a short film. Like, well, not even a short film, but the first half felt like its own movie.
Yeah,
like it almost felt like its own contained. You know, the colonial, you know, the colonial guy leaves, they take over his property. There's some jealousies and some like, hey, this isn't fair. You know, we should have part of it. And there's a little bit of that drama. I thought, oh, I guess it's going to be that. It's going to be kind of a, you know, I should have that, you should have that. But then the second half, it starts becoming this full-on action, revenge, crime. Like, it became really good in the second half. But that scene where they do the interval, the interval is when they were chasing him down the street, right?
Yes.
I almost didn't want to watch it. I was like, no. Like, I thought, they're going to kill. We just got Fahadh Faasil in this film, and now they're going to kill him. So I was like kind of freaking out a little bit and getting really worried. Like, what is it? Because how is he going to survive this? There's like 10 guys.
I know.
I mean, what? So that was very, very scary. But once you got past that, you're like, okay. And it wasn't, this is another thing I love about Malayalam films. The violence is intense and wild, but it's not unrealistic. So I felt like when there were punches and fights, it felt like they were really connecting, and it was like on the ground. It wasn't like flipping through the air, slow motion, even if there was a little bit. It didn't feel like that overly amped violence, that you would have like in KGF. This was like grounded, feel it, visceral. Like when that he gets stabbed in you feel that, like you're, oh God. And it wasn't pretty or dramatic or anything. It just felt really real. Like they shot it so realistically. So I think that's why it was even more disturbing. Is you felt like they could kill him. This is going to happen. And I don't want to see it. I don't want it. And I'm still not quite sure how he got away. He just ran, even though he was stabbed and beaten, and he just got away. Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah, so no. Weird. I think it's like, now you're right about sort of the way they sort of shoot scenes. And obviously, Malayalam cinema, they're known for sort of keeping things authentic and real. So nothing is over the top for most of the time. But yeah, like I really enjoyed that sort of, the fight sequences were pretty good. They had that one and a few in the second half, especially.
Yes.
They sort of amp it up even more. But you're right. Like, I think that scene when he got stabbed, I think he gets stabbed by Chemban's character, one of the brothers. He basically stabs him, and it's like, okay.
Yes.
I was like, they're not going to kill Fahadh off now, are they? This can't be happening, because I was like, how is he going to survive? I think the end scene, they kick him off like a cliff top.
Yeah.
And he lands on a tree. And
I was like, he's hanging in a tree, and a guy goes, there's a guy in a tree.
Yeah.
I guess I got to fix it. That was so funny. He's just kind of laying in the tree. That was really funny.
So,
I liked that guy too. I liked I guess he was like a little bit like, I don't know if I want to say native, but he was like a little more of like poverty. He lived out in the mountains. They were a little bit away from everyone else. And I love how he would kill people or kill things, but he always stop for a minute and do a little prayer. Like he say something, and he go, okay, we're good.
Definitely.
I love that. It was kind of a cute little scene. And then he saved his ass ultimately a couple times.
Yeah, he was really good. I thought his performance was actually really good, really intense.
Yes.
And a great sort of, I was happy that Fahadh had like a sidekick, because I always love that sort of dynamic. It's such a sort of one-man show. It was. So, someone else would sort of come in and sort of help him out. But yeah, he was like, some of his scenes, his facial expression was also really good. Yeah, he really was kind of like a scene stealer.
It's like, good luck with that. Opposite of Fahadh Faasil, and you're stealing the screen. I mean, that's like, who is this guy?
Yeah, he's pretty great. I've not actually seen too much of him, but the little bits I have seen, he's really top notch. So we'd love to see more of him. So there's a lot of sort of
the women characters. Let's talk about them. They were pretty good. I mean, I felt like they were a little less of that just purely object of desire, even though that one woman you felt like, okay, she's being positioned as the object of desire, but she also had her own mind and she had her own ideas. So when that abusive relationship was happening and she's trying to deal with him, and ultimately that's what I thought the whole movie was going to be about. And it was like in the last like quarter, let's say, so the big murder and the revenge. Okay. It was very strange, but it's like that. I loved how they kind of brought her some agency, which a lot of times you don't see. It's a lot of like just looking beautiful, and a man will do anything for her, and she has all the power, but she doesn't really. But it's like they really did kind of give the character some due, and even Martha, the girl that he came back to see, I like that she was kind of the outcast, the witch. She's casting. I love everything's black magic. Oh, I don't feel so good today. It's black magic. Oh, so-and-so died. Must have been black magic. It's like, so I love that she was they were looking at her like she was the witch of the village. So she was also kind of an outcast. So I like that Fahadh Faasil went, when he was kind of cast out, we have this little misfit, island of misfit toys out here who were actually the ones that really got their shit done.
No, it's actually a great point. And even before her, I think the performance from her mother, she's in there for a short time, but like, some of her sort of she was a little bit unhinged at some times, but like the sort of the journey that she goes on, I thought that was actually really good. And that that intro, I mean, it was a lot of sort of dialogue and exposition to sort of tell us stuff, and I think that might be a little bit of a criticism because it does get really lengthy. In that way, like even before the title card, just like 20 minutes of
that was funny. I saw that and went, now we're seeing the title card. That was funny. I like when they do that.
So they had some pretty strong performances. I think they could have been. I think the thing was they had less dialogue. I think that was a kind of strange thing. But to be honest, this movie was kind of strange because even with Fahadh, I felt like his dialogue was actually less. Like he didn't actually have to say much.
No, he didn't.
A lot of it was just like looks of dejection. Looks of sorrow, looks of struggle.
Yes.
Seeing despair, like knowing that people have died. And I mean,
why doesn't my dad love me?
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
A lot of that.
A lot of that. I think this movie, after sort of watching it, I did a bit of research. So this is based off King Lear, the Shakespearean play.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a loose adaptation. So obviously, in Shakespeare, everyone has to die. So in this movie,
that's true.
Everyone basically dies, I think, like
that's
except
true.
for one or two people.
Well, I mean, how many times did Fahadh Faasil almost die? I mean, I think every time he had a scene, it's like, okay, we've gotten him captive. We're taking him out in the middle of nowhere to kill him. Okay, we're going to set a trap for him to be killed. Okay, we got him now. It's like, I think he had super narrow escapes like 4 times. I'm like, okay, how many of these?
Yeah. No, that was definitely one thing. And I think
I did enjoy it, but
even at the end, he gets saved by his friend who throws the axe, right? Like,
that's right. That was a good scene.
At the back of the other. Yeah, that was a good scene.
Good job. Even though I always wonder, like, if you're about to pull the trigger and someone hits you with an axe, would you then pull the trigger? I mean, I feel like it'd be a reflexive and then everybody dies. That would be kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy that. I always love a good axe gag.
Yeah. And similar to that, I think it's like I think Jayasurya's character, once again, he has the gun and it's not loaded. And I'm like, come on, man. Like,
seriously, I know.
You need to check that before you sort of do that. Because he tries to be badass.
I know, it's so funny. That's the classic gag, though. It's like, I'm going to kill you. Click. It's like,
Yeah. Oh, no.
No. And there was also, speaking of the axe gag, I loved the fight in the water. That was also one of those where it felt really real. Like, it felt like you were caught somebody actually having a fight outside. Like, it just felt you could feel punches and it didn't look overly dramatic and it just looked really complicated. And that was also a really cool scene. I enjoyed that.
No, definitely. I think the action scenes arguably might have been my favorite throughout this movie. I think that's why the second half, I think, do you like the first half more or the second half more?
Second half by far.
Half? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I probably like the second half. I mean, I didn't mind. I didn't mind the first half because you were sort of getting to sort of know these characters, but the second half definitely, like, there's a lot at stake.
It ramped up.
I think that's what he likes about it. Like, there's a lot at stake, right? The family's at stake, everyone's life is at stake, and there's so much movement. Like, people are just dying left, right, and center. There's so much plotting between the brothers to kill the other brother.
I know, no one gave a shit. They're like, I'm going to kill this brother, and I'm going to kill this brother. It's like, you guys, what happened to family? What are you doing?
It even gets to the point of the other his friend's wife even gets killed. Like it's
right.
Just, it's a
no one cared.
Everyone's
that was a good scene. That was really good.
That was a
good
scene.
I forgot. I was shocked by that. That was really
because I think there's a scene before that where like I think they were like bruising his ego or something like that, saying like, who do you kill anyway? You haven't killed anyone. I'm the one that killed the brother.
It's like I'm the real man. It's like
exactly.
Not really.
No.
No. But I think it's one of those like there's always like in movies like this, sometimes I see that tonal shift. Like this happens a lot in Indian films, which I have learned to love. Actually, is that they start off one thing, like romantic comedy, it's so fun, and then it becomes this hardcore, violent crime thing. You're like, what? So what I liked about this, it wasn't quite as extreme as that, but we have, like you said, like the kind of a little bit more leisurely, slow drama, which in a way kind of got you inside the family. You got to really know people. You got to know motivations, little slow moments. Yeah, and then you start seeing like, the stakes are getting higher. The stakes are getting higher. They're getting higher. And then it finally kind of, in a way, it does that shift of like, everything's going to explode now. Everything's going wrong. Everything's going bad. Now the shit's going down. Finally, all this time, the kind of chess pieces moving into position and putting everybody where they need to be and doing the moves. It's like, now we're doing it. So I like that they kind of did it and then they pay it off. That crazy ending.
No, it's definitely kind of a movie that as you're watching, you enjoy it more and more. So I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was a pretty great movie. I did have sort of one more criticism, and I want to get your thoughts on this. The songs in this movie kind of feel a bit out of place.
Yes, the boat. Remember we were talking about the boat in the poster?
The boat one, yes.
When that came in, I'm like, Here's Fahadh Faasil in like boatwear, like he's on a yacht, like the super clean white, and here she is all filmy, and she is not that character. Like that woman is not that, and she's all like doing all that, and it just felt like, is he dreaming? I mean, what is it? And because it didn't feel like a movie that would have that kind of break in it.
No,
and then so you're right. That was a little distracting, and I felt like all of a sudden we're seeing kind of modern day. And like he looked all cleaned up, like he was the actor. I've seen Fahadh Faasil, the actor, doing a music video, and I'm like, this is you guys did not need that.
Yeah,
didn't hate it, but it was like,
yeah, it was okay. But I mean, it's strange because like, I mean, a lot of other sort of Malayalam movies I've seen have really blended music and sort of songs, especially really well into the song, into the movie. Like it's just like it's like, okay, we're understanding the point of this. Might be a bit montagey to sort of show off some, relationship, but that relationship sometimes in that song felt like it was forced. Like I felt like there was already enough development throughout the movie, with her sort of coming back and sort of their sort of back and forth here and there. A lot of sort of mystery around that relationship. So I thought it wasn't. I felt that was required. I thought that was fine. It didn't need a big song to be like, "Hey, we're in love." It's like we kind of know you are. We don't need this.
It's
I'm
not sure if explaining the relationship we already knew about.
Yeah,
we get it.
We're
getting it.
Probably not a major critique, but probably a smaller one. But yeah, overall,
I guess if you want a break from all the intrigue and the craziness and the violence, hey, let's have a little song break.
That's a good point.
But at the same time, maybe not so drastically different.
Yeah, I guess it's a good point because like it really plays with pacing really. I guess uniquely. I guess because the first half is really slow, taking its time to build up. Second half is like, whoa, we're into it. We're gonna have a whole lot of different storylines, like plots and subplots, and trying to kill this guy and this guy trying to kill
revenge.
The dad's confused between
revenge on top of revenge because you got revenge because you got revenge. Oh my god! By the time you guys are done, no one's gonna be left. At some point, revenge has to stop.
So maybe just that song was a bit to be like, hey, let's just breathe for a second. Just,
maybe
take a chill pill, relax.
That's true. Okay, everybody just relax. It's going to be okay. Yeah. See if Fahadh Faasil can wear cool clothes, be on the water. It's all beautiful.
Definitely.
I mean, we're kind of taking it to task, but ultimately it felt very epic. I loved the period thing. I actually liked the tonal shift. I felt like by the time we got to the end, I was like, what? This is great. And then it made me want to like see the beginning again. Because now that I understood what they were trying to do, I feel like maybe the beginning wouldn't seem so kind of slow or, maybe knowing what's going to happen and what's at stake, maybe it would matter more. Because at the point, you don't really know anybody. You don't really get it. It's like, But I don't know. I felt like I was seeing something I didn't expect. And so that's what I really enjoyed about it.
True. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to watch this movie sort of a second time to sort of see what I guess once you know the ending, to sort of watch that sort of start to see like what have they done to sort of give us the clues, as to what's going to happen later. Because that sort of mystery element as to what's going to happen between this family, be easy to focus on that. But lots to sort of like about this. It was really a sort of I guess I would sort of walk away from this movie feeling like I was really entertained.
Yes,
that's sort of what I come out of it.
Yeah.
But before we sort of wrap up, I do want to have a little section that we do called the IMDb scale.
Okay.
So welcome, Kathy, to the IMDb scale.
Okay, I love games.
So, yep. It's basically a game to basically decide. So I think we're both pretty high on this movie, but the IMDb average for this movie is 7.7 out of 10. Do you like this movie more, less, or do you agree with the audience consensus?
I think I agree with the audience because I feel like they're kind of holding the first part against it. Like, I think that 7.7 is because it does eventually pay off. Yeah. But that first half was, like you said, tonally like a little like, what's happening? A little confusing and motivation. Like, But I really liked it, but I do kind of feel like the entry into the movie is a little rough. Like if I try to like tell people to watch it, I feel like they'd be kind of like, I didn't finish it because I didn't really get it. No, you have to finish it. I feel like it's one of those movies people may not want to watch as long as it takes to get to the really cool stuff, even though it is worthwhile. What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's 7.7. I think I'm probably a little bit above. I'd probably give this like probably an 8. I think like probably just a little bit above, so almost the same. But I think you're right. The starting point is really, it takes a little while to get into, but I think it does pay off, as you said, and that makes it all worthwhile. And I think just for the sort of the backdrop and how beautiful this movie looked, along with the performances and the action scenes are sort of enough to carry this movie. back to basically 8 out of 10. I think the storyline, yes, it probably could have been written a little bit better, but I think the other stuff that they do to make up for that with Amal Neerad's sort of direction style and the ensemble cast, it's so much to like about this movie. I think there's a lot to like, and there's a few criticisms I think here and there. So I'd probably give it about like an 8 out of 10.
You're right. The tech is great. There's no denying its craftsmanship. It's great. I think probably also I'm giving it a little bit of a ding because of the elephant thing. That takes at least half a point off. I probably would have been more at 8, but yeah, that 0.5 is, the elephant thing.
Yeah. No,
didn't need that.
Did not need that. There's another scene that was similar. I think it was like when no, there's an animal one with I think it's when the father was eating food and he was thinking that it might be poisoned.
And he gave it to the cat.
That was a great scene. He gave it to the cat. I was like,
I didn't like that either. I'm like, no. What? And then we also had to hear like, what's that squealing? Oh, someone said a boar trap. It will scream till it dies. I'm like, I know that you're kind of trying to make an analogy to what's going to happen to the people, but it also was a boar trap and it didn't sound good. And then we had the deer thing. There's some question. You're right. The cat thing. Yeah. Another point off.
I know. I was thinking, wait, if it's poisoned, if you think it's poisoned, wouldn't you ask her to eat it, not the cat? Like,
let's give it to the cat. I know. And I love her. Later, she's holding the cat, like petting it, going, he fell for it anyway.
Yeah. That was a good scene.
That was funny.
Props to her. Like, that was a pretty great performance with just her look, kind of maniacal.
I loved her because every time they showed her too, and I know we're kind of going back into it a little bit. Forgot to talk about this, but the beautiful music, like was all very the kind of colonial music. It had that beautiful kind of Hollywood sounding music, and she was all like, the perfect curls. And I love where she's like, okay, I'm going to sit on bed. I'm pulling out the rifle now. I'm like, whoa, this is the best suicide scene I've ever seen. It was like so intense. It
was.
We are talking spoilers, by the way.
Of course, yeah. In case you've got this
the movie's older, and we're talking about reviews. But yeah, that was she was great. She didn't. It was really funny.
2014, honestly. It's aged pretty well, I think. Like it looks
really did
just as stunning as it does like today's age.
It's gorgeous.
So they've done a pretty great job with that. Like, really good. It looks like a modern day period piece.
And I think it almost helped it too because it was a period piece, so it didn't look overly produced. It was kind of like more in the colonial, like rural areas. They weren't trying to do the big palaces or anything. So I feel like they really kept it very grounded that way. And I think the budget, even though it was probably a restraint, kind of helped it actually.
Yeah. Definitely. But this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Kathy.
I loved watching it. Thank you for suggesting.
No, I'm really happy we got to cover it.
Great. I can't wait to come back.
Definitely. No, we're going to make this a regular thing. And
I'm going to have you on my channel.
Definitely. Yes. So we're going to do a lot more collaborations.
Yes.
I'm just really excited to talk more movies.
And they won't just say Malayalam on my channels. I love Malayalam though. There will be plenty. I remember one person writing a comment saying, "You only do Malayalam." I'm like, well, because they're awesome. But, okay. Whatever. Yep. But we'll drag you in for everything.
Definitely. No. I'm on board for whatever you guys are sort of doing.
Great.
But yeah.
Super
awesome.
fun. Thank you.
Catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.